Mamelodi Sundowns, by virtue of being one of the clubs who could qualify for the Club World Cup, is in line. They're in line to get 1 billion rand within the coffers. The Club World Cup is expanding to 32 teams now, and that expansion is bringing upon a lot of money. FIFA is budgeting 2.5 billion euros for the whole competition, but just for taking part, you'll get a 50 million euros into your bank account, which is about 1 billion. Mamelodi Sundowns, by virtue of being one of the top teams in Africa, have 2 ways to qualify. Every team has 2 ways to qualify, but by virtue of them being perennial semi-finalists and finalists, they've gotten points that put them in line. Because Ahly and Wydad win all the time, they qualify by virtue of winning the Champions League over the past 4 years. And then the space is opening up for 2 other African teams to join in by way of winning the Champions League or qualifying via the points. So this is what Mamelodi Sundowns is going to be aiming at this year in the Champions League. If they can get to a semi-final, if they can get to a final, if they can win it, they will most probably be our representatives, one of Africa's representatives at the Club World Cup. This new expanded Club World Cup. It has its problems. Like, for example, it's 32 teams. Europe is sending 12 teams, whereas CONMEBOL, the South American guys, are sending 6. Then everybody else has 4, and there's an extra spot for the hosts, as well as, Oceania getting 1 and 2, which is already problematic. It's stacking the deck already, which I think makes it less competitive than it can be or should be, and they're just skewing it for themselves. But we've seen these things at the World Cup as well. But back to the point at hand, should we not have a conversation about how these so-called competitions that are opening up the world are going to benefit a lot of these teams far greater than what happens in their leagues? I don't want to make it a Sundowns conversation because that's too easy. I want to make it a league conversation. Look at Ahly, for example. Ahly takes part in their league, takes part in their local competitions, goes far in the Champions League, plays AFL, gets to go to the Club World Cup. How much money is that bringing in to a team like Ahly? And how then do you compete in the future with that team? Are we not handicapping other teams within the league by creating so many opportunities for teams to get, Ahly also play Arab Cups, for teams to be able to get so much money in comparison to what is available to their league? Already, Sundowns wins the league. That's, I believe it's 16 million? You win the AFL, that's 72 million. Or you take part in the AFL, there's certain monies, but then to win it, you get 72 million. To take part in the Champions League, to win it is 72 million. To come second, I believe, should be around 40. Oh, and by the way, you're going to go play at the CAF Champ. We're going to go play at the World Cup, Club World Cup, which can give you another billion on top. Are we helping or hurting development? And I can understand why Europe is doing it. Europe has 12 places. Bo Real Madrid, Bo Man City, Bo Bayern Munich, they'll all qualify. It raises Europe's, how Europe looks. Plus, they've got great TV deals back at their leagues, even though you could argue the same, that they're winning the leagues by virtue of having money. But what does it do to the leagues at the bottom? You're already complaining about Mamelodi Sundowns signing all the stars. Not entirely true, but Mamelodi Sundowns is signing every player. What happens when they have 1 more money? And what happens when they have 2 more need? You can't have a squad of 30 when you're playing in this many competitions for this amount of time. Club World Cup used to be 6 games, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6 games. If you are African and you go there and you go win it. Now, with 32 teams, it's going to be at least 8, 10 games on top of an already congested place. Sundowns is going to need to go and buy more players. What are the repercussions of everything that is being done in football? Think about it. You need a squad of, let's say, 50, 60. Let's say. They all need to be quality because you can't palm them off to a lesser competition like normal. Right? Then think about the PSL and speaking to Sundowns. To be fair to Sundowns, you can't have a foreigner quota. Really. So what happens when we go forward? And again, guys, I don't want to make this about Sundowns and you guys say Sundowns is ruining the league and all of this. That's not what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about a club in Sundowns' position. They've positioned themselves to go and play AFLs, go and play CAF Champions Leagues, go and play World Cups. You cannot take them away from them. They've worked very hard to get here, whether you guys want to believe it or not. Now they're going to have more games and share. Off the bat, it's already more games. Sundowns, as it stands right now, is playing more games. I believe they're in the top 10, if not top 5, of the most games played by teams in a year. Add more games for the World Cup. Asking them to not get better or not buy better just means that you're asking them to do us a favor when they've got bigger ambitions. But it's a club in that situation. What are the offshoots of all of that? Sundowns comes back with 50 incredible players to play in the league. Can you compete with that? I don't know, TS Galaxy. Are we not setting them up for failure? And this is part of the conversation that we had a few months ago where we spoke about things like the AFL. Shouldn't those monies and funds and all of that be directed towards building up other teams? Because as it stands, if you really want to compete with Sundowns, you're going to need an owner that's going to put that much resources behind the team. Credit to Tate Motsepe. He came in, Chiefs and Pirates, and them were dominating. He was like, no, I'm going to put so many resources behind this. This is going to become a strong African team. Right now in Egypt, Pyramids is only competing with Al Ahly because one, they've got former Al Ahly members on the team, but also they've got incredible money behind it. I believe it's mining and things like that, where they've got incredible money. That's the only reason why Pyramids in 3-4 years is competing with Al Ahly, because financially nobody else can compete with them and they can actually touch Al Ahly's coattails. So does that not create a situation where owners are going to have to do that in order to compete? One, and how many owners are going to be willing to do that? Guys, think about how much money that Motsepe has put into Sundowns. Over he bought it in 2004, took over 2004, or majority stake 2004. So for 20 years, he's been throwing money down a hole, not necessarily making returns. So in order to compete with the greatest teams, let alone our infrastructure, Al Ahly, and all of those things, to compete with them, you need to have an owner who's got one, enough money, and two, who's willing to go through 20 years of building. 20 years of building. So I'm just saying that maybe we should look at these things and ask a bit more question. Maybe not for Europe. Maybe for us as Africans. It's not to stop Sundowns or to handcuff Sundowns. It's to create opportunities for others. You think about the AFL structure. I've told you guys plenty of times how I would structure the AFL. My AFL would be an 80 team competition. 4 tiers of 20 teams. My AFL would have the top teams play each other fine, they go and play their thing. Then you have the tiers. So in a secondary tier, you could have your super sports. In another tier, you could have your chippers. And you could give them all chances to, one, play continental football. Let's be honest, some teams in our league will never play continental football, at least consistently. Some of our teams will never be able to leverage that continental king, the continental, I don't know, eyes, the visibility. Why not create a league for everybody to be able to play? Now the chipper from here can go play the chipper from Egypt, playing the chipper from Tanzania, assuming chipper's top 10. And that means that in that tier, you could negotiate your own TV rights, your own TV deals, your own league sponsors, and it might not be as much as everybody else, but you will be getting the type of monies that nobody else could get. And it's not going to rely on Sundowns doing well. Those type of things. Do you know why there's a conference league in Europe? West Ham has a big following that might never have seen European competition. Roma had fallen out, those teams. But in any case, I don't want to make it about Sundowns. It's not for Sundowns to be less ambitious, for us to feel better. I think it's for the structure of all of these things to work so that Sundowns can be ambitious and can go as far as they want to go and work as far as they've worked. They've worked very hard, right? But to create opportunities for other teams and leagues to join in without necessarily needing more billionaires and more people who are willing to spend money, while also not being allowed to spend money by financial fair play, while also being handcuffed by certain things, all those different things. All those different things. So, yeah, anyway, Club World Cup is coming in. Mamelodi Sundowns stands a chance to qualify for a team, for a tournament, and just by virtue of them qualifying, there's $1 billion that could be coming in.